Longtime viewers of the channel will know that I was fairly cynical on the community's hopes for Sanctum Showdown. I expected the sort of max output to be like maybe 1 or 2 cards, and what seems to have happened, and I did promise to do this, is that I was dead wrong. I do not know ball, and I owe a deep apology to Second Dinner because it's looking increasingly likely that 3 to 4 cards is possible in this game mode. First, the basics of Sanctum Showdown. You score points each turn from each location that you're winning. When you get 16 or more points, the game ends, and you get to keep your entry ticket if you win. On each turn, a random location becomes the Sanctum. On turns 1 and 2, it's worth 1 point, and you're not allowed to snap. Starting on turn 3, the Sanctum becomes worth 4 points, meaning that the game becomes very rotated around playing for whichever location is the Sanctum. That means that this is a mode that rewards being able to put a lot of points on the board, but also being able to stop your opponent from doing the same, hence many of the banned cards being clog cards. Whether or not you win or lose, you still get points. And this is the part where I think I really have to take an L. I was doing the math on pure points. A bunch of other people were positive that there would be some other ladder to climb, some amount of quests to complete with those points, and I just didn't believe it. And here is the biggest L I'm going to take in this whole video. There totally is, and it's awesome. It's called Sorcerer Rank, and your points get applied to it. When talking about Sanctum Showdown, there are a couple of jargon terms you're going to have to get used to. Charms are your entry tickets. No, that's wrong. That's scrolls. I'm not used to the jargon terms. Scrolls are your entry tickets, and charms are the points that you spend in the shop. So not only are you getting the points from the actual games that you play, you also get them from these milestones when you get enough points. So for example, just getting to the 3rd rank will give you 1,500 charms, which is enough for a pull on the portal pack and then some on its own. And since that unlocks at 600 charms, bringing you up to a total of 2,100, and the Twitch drops offer 1,000 charms, bringing you up to a total of 3,100, just getting to the 3rd rank and watching for your Twitch drops should get you very, 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 very close to being able to get all 3 new cards for free. What this means is that if you are a dedicated player of this mode, you are getting way more than all 3 new cards for free. It is vastly more generous than I had previously assumed. Just hitting the final rank on here is going to give you an insane amount of points. Assuming you earn enough points at that 3,500 to get to that final rank, you will have at a bare minimum, again, a bare minimum here, the 1,000 scrolls from the Twitch drops, the 4,750 scrolls from completing this, and the 3,500 it took to get you to Sorcerer Supreme in the first place. I'm not saying that's like an incredibly likely goal for your average player to meet, but it does sort of illustrate just how many points you are going to be able to accrue outside of just acquiring points in the game mode. Because acquiring points in the game mode does actually go fairly slowly. This is a game mode that is not, it's not the fastest thing in the world, it's not the slowest thing in the world, but you have to play a lot if you want to earn those points. Like 3,500 points earned in the game mode is a lot. There probably will not be a lot of people who get to Sorcerer Supreme just off grinding. It's gonna require a lot of play. But it does mean that even aiming for, let's say, the 4th tier will get you 3 new cards. That is bonkers. It is way better than I expected, and I truly am shocked at how generous this seems to be. That 4th tier is at 1,100, right? And let's assume you get 11 points per game. Well, that'll require 100 plays of the game, which is honestly about as many as you're going to get free to play. You're going to get scrolls refreshing every so often. You get scrolls from this. You get scrolls from the Twitch drops. Even if you lose every single game, as long as you play 100 games and get to 11 points in every game, you will get 3 free new cards in this mode. That's bonkers. It's crazy. That 1,100 plus the 1,500 for the first 3 ranks, plus the 750 from that 4th rank, plus the 1,000 from the Twitch drops, you're gonna get it. And I think that that is the biggest apology that I have to owe to basically everyone who was, not just to everyone who was like right to trust Second Dinner, but the Second Dinner itself. I did not have faith in the you or in this game mode, and I was clearly wrong. I think that if you are someone who can literally lose every single entry, lose every game, but still get to 11 points, and you're going to get 3 free new cards from this game mode if you just use all your free entries, that is so much better than I expected. It is so dramatically better than any event we've ever had. Just an unbelievable L for me and an unbelievable W for Second Dinner. I also have a couple of play tips for you for how to approach playing in this new game mode. On the final turn of the game, win or lose, always snap. Your snaps add 1 point to the value of the Sanctum, and yes, maybe you're not going to win the Sanctum that game, or you're not going to win the Sanctum that turn, but there's no cost to you, because losing in this game mode doesn't mean anything, and winning just adds more points. So much like how in Conquest, when you're playing in the Proving Grounds, you snap turn 1, this is sort of the reverse of that. When you're playing this game mode, always snap on the final turn of the game. If you're about to lose, give them that extra point. It's helpful. And then if you're about to win, give them that extra point. It's helpful. Like, making sure that both players get as much as possible out of this is kind of what people should be doing here, because this is not a zero-sum game. This is a game where, yes, one person gets to keep playing, one person loses their event, but both players still get all of their points. And as we just talked about, just getting to 11 points and using 100 entries should get you to the point where you get 3 free cards. So please remember, be nice to everybody, snap on the last turn no matter what. In this game mode, priority is not based on who is ahead on the board, it's based on who is ahead on points. So having or losing priority is not going to be using the same mechanic that the rest of Marvel Snap does. It's using who's winning in the sort of game that is actually being played. So definitely keep that in mind. It is one of the bigger changes from this game mode to the overall Marvel Snap universe. You can have more than 12 scrolls saved up, but the reset refresh won't actually take you above 12 scrolls. So make sure you play down below 12 scrolls when you are planning to log out for an extended period of time, so that you don't end up wasting those free scrolls that you get when the game resets. This is similar to the first one, but there is literally no point to retreating in this game. Get as many points as you can, and make sure your opponent gets as many points as they can. If you would be retreating, just don't worry about it. It's fine. Go get the small locations, let your opponent get the big one, pick up your 2 points, because those 2 points over 100 games are gonna really matter, right? Over 100 games, picking up the 2 points from the small locations on the last turn while your opponent focuses on the Sanctum, yeah, I mean, that's going to be 200 points. That's the difference between 900 points and 1100 points. 1100 points being the sorcerer rank breakpoint that you really need to get 750 more charms. Please, 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 please don't just give up and retreat out of these modes. It's going to be bad for you. It's going to be bad for your opponent. It sucks. The Sanctum always scores last of everything. It is the last thing to happen on each turn. It will happen, for example, after a Hydra Bob moves, which is a really important note here, because Hydra Bob is a card that I think a lot of people are going to think about very quickly into this new game mode. This is a very, very important tip to actually keep track of. In addition, the Sanctum will always swap locations. Always. And that means that there is something to be said for the fact that you can give up on the Sanctum one time and try to gamble on getting it on a location that you're prohibitively ahead on going into the next turn. In terms of decks, I think this might be the part where a lot of people start feeling bad about the mode, because a lot of the things that are strong in this game mode are unfortunately fairly expensive in terms of actual Marvel Snap cards. I don't think that's going to be the biggest problem in the world, because both players get points, and because, again, like, if you use your 100 entries or whatever, you're getting 3 free new cards anyway, and you really shouldn't feel all that bad about getting farmed by guys who are just spending a lot more money than you, because you're not actually getting farmed. Again, the value prop here is just you play your games out and you'll probably get what you need. But this is a really, really obviously good deck here. It comes from Zombies Go Nom Nom, but when I say that, it's sort of a little bit generous because it's one card off the actual Scream deck. Scream is obviously a very powerful card in the context of this mode because it plays a bunch of big mid-rangey cards, a bunch of powerful scalers. It has Sam Wilson, who's extremely good in this mode, and it allows you as the player to move things around in ways that are beneficial to you, clog up lanes sometimes, play big guys. Scream, of course, is excellent because a lot of people are playing Hydra Bob, who is moving around a lot because there are a lot of opportunities to snap. And this is a really, really powerful deck in the game mode just on numbers. Cannonball, of course, another standout. If you're ending the game on turn 5, this is an extremely powerful card. Even if you are going to have priority, which is how you're going to end the game on turn 5, it still plays for 8 plus whatever. It's pumping your Scream. It's doing a bunch of ridiculous stuff. The general outline of this deck is extremely powerful, and that is not going to change even in a mode as different as this one. This is a straightforward tempo-based build from my buddy Stefan. What he said is that he's looking for a good replacement for Hydra Bob in here because it's such Scream food, but currently there isn't a wonderful one. The deck is very strong at doing exactly what this mode demands, which is having a large amount of power at specific locations at specific times. Rocket and Groot, a bit of a standout in that way as well. Because priority works differently in this game mode, having Rocket and Groot in your deck does mean that you're going to want to play aggressively for priority early in the game, which is obviously something that having Sam Wilson in your deck helps because that free 1 point from his location is going to be very valuable. This is a deck that wants to get ahead and stay ahead and keep snowballing. It is a collection of very powerful tempo cards with some more modifications to make it powerful for this game mode. Of course, you have something like Star-Lord, which is excellent at contesting a specific location. Cull Obsidian, arguably one of the largest 4-drops in the game. You can play it on wherever the Sam Wilson is, but you also have Rocket and Groot. So you have the combination Guardians package, the power upgrade here, and of course Negasonic. This is a deck that wants to play from ahead, meaning you have to understand the new priority mechanics of this mode, but being ahead is going to let you stay ahead and cruise to victory with this deck. This one comes from Honifer. We see some of the same dynamics here, but this deck is more focused on playing for a, like, I guess you would call it like the end game, but like, is it really the end game, right? Like, the end game here being like, the game is going to go to turn 6. So like, that is the thing. But like, yeah, if you could play the card The Infinite, you're going to win a location, and it's going to be an important one because you're playing it on the important location, and there's not a lot that can stop you, and nobody in this game is getting bigger than the Infinite. One of the things that doesn't exist in this game mode at all is the ability to like scale multiplicatively. Decks like Move Bounce just don't seem to be a thing. It's not really like a possible thing for you to do. And so like there's nobody who's scaling multiplicatively. You're just playing the biggest guy possible, and the Infinite is the biggest guy possible. You see a lot of overlap in these decks, right? Like the Guardians are really good in this mode. Makari is really good in this mode. Rocket and Groot is really good in this mode. A lot of overlap, a lot of generically good cards that are not your normal generically good cards. And I think that that is notable because some of them are, and I think people are going to be mad like, oh, it's the Rocket and Groot game mode. Pay to win. If you're talking about a card that makes this game mode pay to win, it would be Sam Wilson Captain America, which is exactly what makes the normal game pay to win right now. So, you know, take it or leave it. This is a very powerful deck that is a slightly more endgamey build that has some real beef in it. Like, this is a deck that you can feel very confident in late in the game, and its goal is to be like sort of in Magic. There's a story of a deck with all 2/2s versus the deck with all 3/3s. And the deck with all 3/3s always wins because even though the deck with all 2/2s gets on the board faster and gets more aggressive, by the time those 3/3s start coming down, they end up being bigger. And I think that that is sort of what's happening here, where it's like, yeah, you know, you're going to lose some early stuff, but then you immediately swing back in. You have like 2 turns that you just cannot lose the Sanctum on, and that's just going to be enough. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. I've been KMBest. I owe Second Dinner an apology, and this is going to be the 3rd time I've given it during this video, so please accept my trifold apology, Second Dinner, and also all of the optimists. I think you guys are probably right. I think a lot of people are going to get 3 free cards from this game mode. Good job, guys. Like, legitimately. You've been phenomenal, and I will see you in the next one.